started to collapse as a team.
But that's the risk that you run whenever you build do more, especially on a character like Vulcan, and who's really all or nothing. Feast or famine is Vulcan in a character. You're either absolutely killing it, you're killing everybody all the time, you're making these highlight reel plays, and as you know from seeing Pretty Prime's highlight reel plays, that's usually where he is, especially with this character. But Enix has just done a great job of shredding Pretty Prime's front line to the point where he can't really do anything. He can't step up and free farm because Maniac or Emilzy is always in danger of dying with his composition.
And we go again with the walls. The Kraken this time from Lobster. A little bit skew with, but the tier 2 timer does fall. With the Wild Hunt on, Funballer will pick up a free kill into Maniac, who had no chance of escape again. That puts Funballer at 5 kills, the highest on the side of Enix.
And again, the Kraken didn't hit anybody that time, but it didn't even matter. Maniac still got torn through like paper, and there's really not a lot of HP in Maniac's build. He's gone for a protection-oriented build, and that doesn't help you against 3 Sunders and a Nemesis ult, right? You need HP. Winged Blade is the only thing that's giving him any, on top of that Mark of the Vanguard, but that's negligible as well. Maniac just has not been able to frontline effectively, and honestly, outside of building a little bit more HP, I don't know what he could have done differently in order to frontline effectively, because this composition from Enix is just destroy frontliners.
It's funny because that's what you want to do as a Sobek, as a solo laner. You want to be that tank lily focus because that should be a good thing. Right now, it's not. You don't want to be the focus of this game because if you are, you're not going to live very long. And Enix is just going to keep creating these 4v5 scenarios where they can keep the pressure up.
Every single time. The only thing that I think that Obey should be doing in terms of getting past this sort of burst the frontline comp is just running straight at Enix, basically. Now, at this point, they're so far behind that I don't know if that strategy would work anymore.
You mean setting them, sorry, not letting them set up before
exactly,
they get engaged,
exactly.
basically.
Every engagement has been Tings walling off the back line, they get scared, they back up, and then that creates a big vacuum in between where Maniac is and where Pretty Prime and Ataraxia are. Now, if Twig and Ataraxia, you know, these more mobile characters that can survive in the thick of battle, can come around the side of a team fight, immediately jump on top of Lobster, who, as you mentioned, is not getting a ton of peel, jump on top of Funball, who's 5-0-4 and has probably taken very little damage so far this game. That's what Obey needed earlier on. At this point, even if they get 2 members on top of Funball, he's level 20 with a fully stacked Rage and a Deathbringer, and he's just going to kill you anyways.
And this is the classic thing when you're on auto side and you've got to get mate. You want him to channel in like Captain Twig is now. They can find the perfect wall off behind them. They can trap a member of Obey and burst them so quickly. Talk about burst though, the Fire Giant, while they're just zoning away, will go for free as that drops even quicker.
Exactly. Obey just cannot get in and contest. Pretty Prime, really the only hope in that sort of scenario with a long-range Vulcan ultimate. He was on the left side of the map, farming up a little bit more, trying to get some more Doom Orb stacks, now sitting at 41.
I think I've seen every type of shield today so far. Every type of shield. Not necessarily in this game.
Shield, Void Shield, Shifter Shield. Am I missing any? Those are the big 3.
Probably.
Well, you're the one who's seen all of them. I'm asking you.
I'm pretty sure I've seen all of them, is what I'm saying.
Those are the 3.
You're the analyst
that I see. You were being the analyst earlier today.
Yeah, not now though.
Oh, okay. You turned
turn
off
that
that.
off.
Yeah, you turned that off.
Yeah.
I gotta figure out how to turn it on.
I just got to talk about the team fights.
Can you tell me where the light switch is?
I don't know. It needs one in your brain, that's for sure.
That's what I was already saying that, Hindu.
I was just agreeing with you. I was agreeing with you. 27 minutes in, Enix 13-2. This game has gone drastically in their favor from the 20-minute mark. As you can see by the graphs, that's where the game really changed. Because the game was even up until that point. It's just their composition, the way they've been sieging up and allowing big man Tings to walk in with the walls that have caused them so many problems.
And again, he goes for it, but no real follow-up. It wasn't Maniac trying to zone this time. He understands that he has been the focus. Emilzy understands that he has been the focus. And both of these characters need to just stay back. Allow Enix to come all the way up. A little bit more grouping. As long as you aren't grouped for the Kraken, there's no other AoE that really worries you. The Wild Hunt, yes, you got to worry about using Purification Beads for that. But outside of that, you really need to be grouped up against the competition.
It's tricky with Lobster's cripple, though. From that whirlpool, if anyone tried to step forward, it makes it very tricky for him to get away, and Maniac won't go anywhere yet again. Twigs in the sky, though, looking to pick off targets, or at least push them back out of his base. But now that ultimate's on cooldown means they're once again defending 4v5. Right Phoenix is also getting sieged by minions here.
Brutal. Maniac just cannot afford to get frozen ever. Good stun there from Emilz. He catches a couple, but it's Enix the one trying to catch Obey out. They force them off the Phoenix and start to focus it down. Funball should be able to knock it down.
Yeah, this composition for Phoenix is just solid. That's all it is, because you can see Maniac on the front side on Sobek. How does he engage? He dashes in. Terra, how does she engage? Dashes in. What stops those things? Whirlpool Cripple. So all they've got to do is wait for the Whirlpool every time, or just wait for the Whirlpool to be down before they can engage. But Lobster's being smart and waiting for the opportunities to drop it himself.
And it's been Ting setting up every single time with those freezes as well. Maniac doesn't even get a chance to pluck half the time because he's frozen and controlled before that freeze even wears off.
Everyone wondered how the two rookies, not rookies for the league, but rookies for the team of Fails and Ducky would perform in today so far. Keep an eye on Fails, specifically here on the Nemesis, involved in every kill, 100% kill participation.
There's two different ways to play Nemesis. You can go with the adapting route where it doesn't matter if, you're in a 1v1 or a 1v3. Exactly. You're just taking it, your brain goes on autopilot and you ult and then you crit them to death. This type of Nemesis that Fails is playing is a team-oriented style of jungler. It's always a Nemesis ult off the freeze, and it's never without that Whirlpool Kraken waiting from Lobster. So you can tell the communication from Enix has been solid so far this game. Usually it's a little bit easier to go for that see God, kill God sort of style whenever you're new to a team, especially in the jungle role that is so difficult to find synergy with all other 4 teammates on your team. But Fails has done a beautiful job of it thus far. 2-1 and 12, he's been a part of every kill for Enix.
So is there a way back into it for Obey right now with how this game's gone, or is it just too far out of reach?
I mean, they haven't even gotten a tower yet. They've gotten about 60% of the right solo tower down there. Like, this is a tough spot for Obey. The good news is that they do have some sustain, so if they win a team fight but they're low, they don't necessarily have to back. They can continue to siege up. Ataraxia on Jingwei is one of the better tower shredders, especially after the most recent change where Jingwei gets a little bit of more power, actually a lot of power. What is it, 50 at max rank if you use agility when knocked up. So not only do you get that increased attack speed from knocking yourself up, but you can get extra power as well. Makes it very easy for Ataraxia to take towers, and he's almost full build, needs a little bit more pen there, and that's exactly what he's working towards with that 6th item. But all of that being said, I just don't see a way that Obey can clean wipe Enix, because that's what they need. They need a 5 for 0 right now, and I still don't know if that would be enough.
Funball, top of the player damage, 5k ahead above anyone, and the closest to him is Lobster at 14k, followed by Prime. Full build on a Kernanos, everyone's been saying he's pretty good. We've seen wins, we've seen losses, we've seen Blair, we've seen good. This game, it looks pretty solid.
Absolutely, and it's been quiet too. Funball hasn't had those insane ROM snipes. He hasn't rolled in 2v1 and found the kills. He's just been in the right spot at the right time and done his job. And a lot of that is due to how strong this composition from Enix is, because he doesn't have to worry about a frontliner worrying, making his life difficult. If you ask Funball, we could kill one person to start off every single fight, who would you like it to be? His instant answer would probably be Maniac. I don't want to deal with that solo laner. Let me free cast. Let me do Sobek. Exactly. Get rid of that, and then I'll do whatever I want. Enix has gotten rid of that, and he's done whatever he's wanted.
And now they're going to do what they want on the left-hand side of the map with the middle lane point, fire minions down it already, and the fire giant buff back around their waist. They're looking for the left-hand side. No one in the right just yet, but this is the best Phoenix to really go for.
Maniac now has a Magi's Blessing, so won't get instantly killed off of a freeze from Big Man Tanks.
It's a good call just to avoid the first freeze coming out, make sure the Sunder doesn't follow that up and then burst you down after that with the Nemesis ultimate too. But you can also see Millsy's got that as well, so we'll see what happens. The bad news is they're probably staying further back than they should be now that they've got the Magi's.
Yeah, and Millsy just lost his because of Ducky's root. Big Man Tank's not going to get stunned there in between the wall from a Millsy as the Phoenix goes down to about 50% HP.
But talk about Phoenix's middle Phoenix, you can see it's ticking away, about to respawn as it does, and the fire minions that are about to pour their causes Obey to have to send somebody over to defend.
And it's going to be Captain Twig, but he might not even get a chance as Emilzy gets bursted again. That Vulcan ultimate from Prime, not on the marker, not doing a lot of damage.
Captain Twig also, I believe, ate a Sunder towards the end of that too. He's running for his life as well. One hit from death. The Phoenix, different story. That's already fallen as Fails will pick up Twig on the tail end, and they'll immediately rotate round to the right-hand side. No messing around from Enix here, nothing too crazy. Get the right-hand Phoenix as well.
And Enix says, all right, Maniac, you got a Magi's Blessing. Okay, Emilzy, you have yours. Ooh, Emilzy, no Magi's Blessing anymore, huh? We're just going to do exactly what we've been doing to Maniac the entire game. Freeze, Whirlpool, Nemo, Kraken, dead.
And now the final Phoenix in the right will fall down. Enix is basically a matter of moments before being able to close out this game unless Obey. You're looking at pretty prime at this moment on the Vulcan, and you're thinking, if only he can hit the perfect ultimate onto the whole squad, and if only he had another 2 items.
Yeah, if only he had a 3K pot, a red buff, and a fire giant buff, then I'd have a chance.
Well, let's find out if the Titan has a chance against the whole squad of Enix, or will we be going to game 2 with Obey down a game? I wouldn't have predicted that after looking at how Masters went.
No, they were really dominant at Masters. I mean, Energy took them to 5. That was a very close set. And then Dignitas took 1 off of them in that best of 5. But overall, Obey has looked like the best team in the world pretty consistently.
Twig jumps in to avoid the freeze, forced to take to the sky to reduce some damage. Obey rallying round, trying to protect the Titan now. The focus seems to be on Ducky for a second, but Ducky did a good job juking. The ultimate out of Prime was good, but Funballer was there with the Aegis.
But Lobster did get pretty low off of that. Now Twig going forward. That Kraken's not going to find the kill, but it is going to knock Twig very low, forced out. But Pretty Prime was jammed up against that wall, able to escape.
But the Titan might not be alive because Obey have to fall back to regenerate, and it's given a window for Enix to get in and take game 1.
Obey falls. They lost 1 game during the online spring split, and we're 1 game in, and that's 1 L for Obey. And Enix, like I mentioned, this is a great opportunity for them to see where they rank. It's got to be a pretty big confidence booster, I'd say.
is crazy right now, though, because you think about what's happened today. We've seen splits from Energy and Rival, Pappy splitting with Elevate, and now Enix taking a game off Obey already, and we're going to game 2.
People are asking me, who's going to Valencia out of Europe?
No clue yet.
I don't know. Don't ask me. It's not like this is my job.
Kind of is. Picks and bans, let's go. We'll find out what happens in game 2.
It is? Oh, yeah, okay. Anyways, yeah, either way. Obey now in the first pick position. I believe it was Enix last time. They first picked that Robin, and immediately Obey gonna ban that away. That's the first time we've seen real success out of Robin solo in a long time. He really was relegated to that jungle role where he was doing very, very well for himself. But Ducky showing that he could still really dominate that solo lane.
So do we expect Bologna Fafnir, I guess, the last 2 bans here?
More than likely.
Terra first pick. Oh, okay.
It's going to be Terra ban here. And again, if Enix wants to run that sort of composition, it destroys Terra. Now it gives them a chance to pick the Bologna if they want it.
Will they take it, though, is a question? They will, of course. Over to Enix then, and now with the top 2 supports in the meta taken out, Fafnir and Terra, we will see Capri is the one that they're going to go for.
Right away. That was banned away from Tiggs in game 1, so I like that early selection for him, and it leaves open the Serket. That's what I was going to talk about, but
that didn't get through last game.
The Morrigan.
Right now?
Yeah, absolutely, for Pretty Prime, because that gives him a Serket ult. That's what they were doing consistently at Masters. They use that Serket ult for themselves. It also gives him a Khepri ult if they need it. Prime is like the guy with the Morrigan in terms of just adjustability, which is not a word, but I'm going to use it anyways because that's what we do here, and it is going to be the Morrigan.
That's kind of what we do.
Yeah.
Over to Enix then, and what their mid choice is going to be. More than likely, that is Sol in the mid lane. We've not seen too much in the Hunter role just lately, and I'm pretty sure if Kernanos doesn't get banned, I'm pretty sure Funball will go back to it.
Yeah, why not? I mean, he was so good on it, but Obey might be the one to select it, but Enix is the first one with the pick after the ban phase.
That's what I expect. It should be Obey that ban Kernanos. They're not going to focus Jingwei, because I think we'll probably see Kernanos versus Jingwei again. I don't see a reason not to go for that.
I mean, Ataraxia didn't do anything wrong in that game. He just didn't do anything because he didn't have a front line, and that's exactly what I was saying about Pretty Prime. Just don't get a chance to do much whenever you don't have a solo laner there in front of you.
Okay, so instead of going for the Kernanos, which is great on the ground, which is kind of what Sol brings, they've taken Roma for the extra snipes as well. I think it's also to potentially counter-pick that away from if Ataraxia wanted to go for that Transcendence build we've seen out of him before.
Sure, yeah, and Rom is just an overall strong hunter. It's also a ton of push power early for Enix. Rom, one of the best. I think he is the best level 1 hunter in terms of clear. So you're going to have that with Khepri. Yeah, I'm looking at this Naja pick and tier for Ducky, a god that we haven't seen in a long time. But Naja's always paired with that big burst ultimate. We're going to insta-kill someone.
I'm just about Naja and Tyr in the same game. Like, we've not seen one of them for a while, but
what
both
year is this?
Okay.
Yeah.
Naja did get some love, though. Extra ring bounce every single time, which is really helpful in the early game for clearing and for additional poke after a wave.
So as I was talking about with Vulcan, it's either feast or famine. You're either carrying the game or you're just, a non-factor. It's even more to an extreme with Naja in my mind. Naja has that potential to just snowball the early game, is impossible to deal with, can be all over the map, excellent mobility in terms of movement speed after using the ring toss. But if Naja falls behind, it gets really
No,
tough
it's okay.
really fast.
You know why? Because Pretty Prime can turn into Naja and do everything that Twig did wrong. There you go. That's the dream. Double Naja ults, double ring toss.
That's what I was about to say. I'm thinking about why the Naja, but you can take someone out of the fight.
Yep.
The Morrigan can transform into Naja
and then
immediately take them back up.
Do it again.
Before the beads hit.
Perfect. And then when they come down the second time, Maniac comes in with the Eagles Rally. And if they're still alive, Milzy just lurks in the water and pops. They're dead, whoever they are, but it's only one person dead.
If Obey pulls that off.
If I see double Naja ults one after the other, I'll be impressed. That's something on your pipe dream list of what you thought about when Morrigan first came out.
If they pull it off, FDOT's going to give away some gem codes on Twitter.
He is?
Yeah.
How many?
I don't know. I didn't ask him exactly. He just said it. I heard it in my ear.
Did you?
Yeah, he's back in production right now.
Good to know. Well, maybe the cameraman will get better then. I don't know. I just fired shots at our cameraman for no reason.
What was that about?
I'm sorry, cameraman.
Salim, I love you.
Meanwhile, Salim has managed to keep track of the buffs on the left-hand side. You saw the invade coming out from Enix here, looking to try and strip away the purple buff. They don't manage to do it. They did get the babies, though, as Ataraxi secured their own red in the jungle, which seems to be an Order play, it seems. Order seems to like to start their own red or purple and go to lane.
Exactly, and there was a Hand of the Gods used there by Emilzy picking up that relic, so no Sunder this time around. The nerf of Meditation. Meditation was just dominant for so long, for the entire spring split of Season 4. We're seeing so much more variance there in the support relics selections.
That's one of the reasons.
Shells, it's
Sunder.
Sprints, it's Sunder.
That's one of the reasons Sunder has come out and been so noticed, is because no one's buying Med anymore. There's an extra relic slot instead that they can look for. And to be fair, junglers would have probably picked up Sunder on its own. We saw a couple of solo lanes play with it, but Meditation now being dropped down to being I'd say it's a more solo lane-esque item because of the fact you need the levels to really influence it later on. And the early game is still about the same, to be fair.
Very true. And I love this Hand of the Gods pickup as Fails goes in the mid lane. Pretty Prime doesn't have a real escape, but now Fails is the one in a lot of trouble. Twig trying to find that first blood, and that's going to do it.
Lobster could be in trouble as well with a full minion wave in there, but the Stellar Burst will not be stellar enough to pick up the kill onto either Prime or Twig. But that was Fails going aggressive, and it was a good play. The bad news is he got picked.
And we saw Lobster, or it was Lobster, it was the mid laner for Dignitas Zeros, who was playing the Morrigan earlier today and was just using that stun to set up kill after kill after kill for Dig in the late game. This time it's in the early game, but Fails gets stunned in the middle of the minion wave. He used his entire kit. He used the ambush to get in, then the madness, then the Deathbane to put the damage on a Prime. But good recognition from Obey saying, yes, we're low, but Enix has nothing. We can fight this.
Completely true, and that's just going to give Obey a nice early lead on to the Naja. Feast or famine we were talking about. Well, he's feasting right now as he fails on these elementals on the right-hand side. Ducky, though, caught out and stunned in place, taken to the sky. Are we going to get the Dream one straight away? Not even required. Twig will secure the kill on his own. Second one of the game.
How selfish that they killed Ducky before the second Naja ult could come out from Pretty Prime. But that's just good. Twig wanted to get fearless in that situation.
Right-hand side, you see Fails going aggressive there up against Maniac. Maniac still trying to stand and bang, but with the archers coming into play too, he's got to be more respectful about the amount of input that could have come out there. So Fails and Maniac will both back to safety. Teleport available, so he'd be okay.
And that's a really poorly timed death for Ducky because he has to use the teleport to get back to lane, but he didn't have Boots 3 quite yet, sitting on Boots 2. Whereas now Maniac is back to base, teleported in with that completed Warrior Tabi. So that is a big advantage for Maniac in that lane.
And you talk about how tier is at the moment. We've not really spoken about. Hang on a second. Enix looking for the baits again onto Emilzy. They've been doing this all day in game 1. In game 2, it's rinse repeat, just a different composition.
3 ults for the support, but what can Obey do to really punish Enix right now? Not a whole lot. There's no way that Pretty Prime is going to make some incredible play outside of turning into the Circuit, I suppose. That's what you're really looking for. Captain Twig doesn't have his ultimate quite yet, and anyways, he's on the right-hand side. Good pick onto Emilzy there.
Now, Ducky on this right-hand side, we mentioned he's behind, only tier 2 boots, but he's playing tier. I went to bring that up a second ago. Why have we not seen tier so much?
Well, the most recent nerf was that he lost that double heal off of one target with the power cleave. That was the thing that made it so that he couldn't box as well in lane because he couldn't get that big burst heal off of just the enemy god. So he still has a good early game, though. He still has incredible control and damage in the mid game and control in the late game. I think, again, it's just one of those things where he's got a couple bad matchups that you don't want to play into.
Oh, the catch there. I think Ducky was looking to try and get the Fearless off, but it didn't happen. Twig will steal away the blue buff with the help of Maniac there. Thought it was going to be a pinch on Twig for a second. Instead, it turns around, and with both of the Enix members here being out of mana, look at the double ring bounce that hit Ducky. It's awkward for them to try and defend this, and Ducky does not have TP.
No, but he's thinking about sticking around. Very little mana without that blue buff. I don't know if he's gonna have enough mana to use a heal and a Lawbringer to get away. Yeah, Ducky's indecision there really hurts him. If he would have just backed and right away, not a big deal. You lose that wave, it's fine. But now he's gonna lose that wave. He's gonna lose pressure on the next wave most likely as well. Needed to make a quicker decision than that.
I think it's time to see Fails just give up the goat on that right-hand side now on that solo lane. It's clear that Ducky's going to be behind in this lane now. He's going to be struggling. Sometimes it's worth sending your jungler over there to support, but sometimes it's better to do what he's doing here, try and pressure outwards where, as long as there's no wards involved.
Unfortunately for him, there is a ward involved, and Ataraxia knows exactly where that jungler is. But you're right, I think that at some point, when a lane is super far behind, you're just like, all right, buddy, good luck. Try not to die quite as much. I'm going to try and get a lead on the left-hand side, so then Funball has a chance to really carry you into the mid to late.
All right, now just 2 members for Obey in the mid lane. Fails hanging around here. No blink available, so he's going to be relying on the ambush to get over these sort of walls here. Obviously, soaking experience through the wall without giving vision of where he is, unless you step on a ward.
And Fails is
he's attracted to them.
Yeah, he's all over the place.
He's attracted to those wards, that's what it is.
Like a moth to a flame.
Like a bee to honey.
I'm out of analogies, but he definitely has been all over the place, and that's more a credit to Obey's warding, just making sure that they know where Fails is at all times, because it's also about keeping track of where he is so that Captain Twig knows where he wants to be. Whether he wants to, you know, try and come and counter gank, someone can bait themselves like Ataraxia who can then get away, or you can just try and go to the other side of the map and get more pressure for someone like Maniac, who already has a fairly substantial lead.
I do feel like wards have really started to become more prevalent. I keep noticing it more and more that the map is littered much more often in the early game with ward coverage now than we used to see in spring. It was a long time ago, I'd actually say it's towards the end of Season 2, middle of Season 3 at the latest, where wards started to like not be as noticed, not be as prominent on the map. And now we start to go to, everyone's buying multiple wards, which means sentries should be back on the rise as well.
There's always that that ebb and flow, and it's not only in terms of wards, but it's in terms of meta, and it's in terms of team improvement as well. You know, one team starts to not prioritize wards and instead prioritize finishing power items, and then they're winning, and so everyone says, oh, well, if they aren't doing it, then we shouldn't do it either. And then another team will just outward you and have more information, and then it's difficult to do anything on the map. And then that starts to come back into the, oh, we should be warding more, that sort of stuff. It's always that kind of trade-off.
Twig was looking for a big old play with the sash there. Not going to find it, though. May look for Lobster. Doesn't find the ultimate either. And Millsy now comes in for a bit of a tail whip there onto Fails just to slow him down and advance it onto Twig. He could have been in trouble if they would have aggressed.
But it's honestly better that Twig missed that ultimate, because Lobster was channeling that to separate as Fails goes jumping forward. Emilzy immediately into the waters. Funball was looking to support Fails with that ultimate as well. But as I mentioned, Lobster was channeling that to separate, would have become immune midway through that Naja ult, and then all of a sudden Obey's been baiting into a bad fight. Twig needs to be careful about ulting Lobster at all times. Needs to make sure he doesn't get that 3 off.
Miss there coming out from Emilzy on that block, and Emilzy's in trouble. So on the backside is Pretty Prime, who has to dance away as Circuit to get back to safety. Emilzy is dead. Enix even things up for the moment. They're looking at the Oracles now. They're both going to go the way of Enix, so a trade in their favor.
Enix doesn't go for the Gold Fury, though, and I'm a little bit surprised. It's just the fact that they lost 3 ultimates there in terms of Funball using it on the bottom left-hand side, and then 2 from Lobster and Fails. But they had killed Emilzy, forced Pretty Prime back to base guaranteed because he had less than 100 HP. Also the fact that Lobster was a little bit low on mana, a big reason why we don't see Enix immediately start to pull that Gold Fury.
So only 2-2. Final spawn in there of the elementals on the right-hand side. Next thing over there will be the Portal Demon. So another objective available on the map to contest, just like the Gold Fury. Different rewards, however.
We see that Captain Twig's immediately going for this Shifter Shield, and I love this idea. Shifter Shield is the Naja item, right? You want to initiate, do a lot of damage, take that 70 power and run with it, throw out the poke with the Universe Ring Toss. All that is great. But then once you're in the middle of everybody, you need defense. Well, that's what Shifter Shields provides. After you go below 50% HP, you're getting more protections. So I love this idea from Captain Twig. I think that's why, and this is what I expect out of Obey. They look at item changes, they look at meta changes, and don't look to, stay the same as every other team. They're always looking for new, different gods that can take advantage of what's strong at the moment. I think Naja with the Shifter Shield is a perfect pairing.
We can see the net worth on the left-hand side. There's not a big difference between these two teams right now. Obviously, 3 members of Obey, above the majority of Enix here, but not by a large margin.
No, I mean, this is still fairly close. Obey is right there in terms of, they're actually a little bit ahead in terms of gold. The XP basically even. There's a slight lead for Obey on the right side of the map, a slight lead for Enix on the left side. So basically a wash at this stage. Both of these teams translate very, very well into the late game. Captain Twig is going to hit that lull in the mid where Naja ult stops doing as much damage, is more about taking someone out of the fight. But then in the late game, it'll be that burst.
Fails trying to draw attention from Obey at the Gold Fury. The Gold Fury is going to go down shortly. That's a Raxi credit for the kill. Enix get the gold, but they do lose Lobster in the process.
But what else can Obey do after that pick? Can they force the mid tier 1? Can they force the left tier 1? Just a Lobster for the Gold Fury, still worth it for Enix.
No, but this tier 1 tower, as you said, I think this is the opportunity for them. They zoned around the red buff to make sure the pathing from Enix couldn't get back to defend this in time, especially with Ducky going back to base and Fails there. There was nothing they could do to defend the tier 1, so Obey answer it back.
So I think Obey ends up on top of that engagement. Yes, everyone from Enix gets a little bit more gold because of the Gold Fury than that 100 per from the tier 1 tower, but it's about getting pressure on the map. This opens up more invades on both sides. That mid tower is so important. Now, if you're rooting for Enix, it's not all bad, because in terms of mid laners who are okay with losing their tier 1 tower, exactly. Soul has that get out of jail free card with the Disapparate, giving you slow immunity, movement speed, then of course that Corporeal form towards the end. So it's not all bad for Enix.
Cheeky trap from Fumble there. Not sure if that ward was his, but he's going to eat more poke than he bargained for. With Pretty Prime now coming in. Fumble is like, no, get me out of here. Prime trying to chase him down though for the pickup of the kill with the Circuit ultimate, but he doesn't label there in time, and with the ultimate available for Big Man Tings, he's one hit from death. And running a Mills, he's stunting though. He really wanted to pick up the kill. Tings is low on mana here and has no ultimate. He may fall down instead.
Lurking in the water is going to guarantee it. Prime gets the kill. Now Lobster's in a bad spot, plucked back. That Corporeal form coming up big, but not big enough. Twig finds it.
And Fearless not available for Ducky there as he got tailwhips as he landed too. The Wild Hunt is on and Piggy run, Piggy run! Not from Kurdanos, not this time. Ataraxia picks up Ducky.
What an ult from Ataraxia. That is purely because Twig had just used his beads to get out of the last breath from Fails, and Twig was guaranteed dead to a Fearless from Ducky. Instead, Ataraxia turns him into the pig with the Wild Hunt, and then Obey cooks him up, no problem whatsoever.
6-2, Paul Demon goes in their favor as well now. After the Gold Fury that went to Enix, you can see the gold lead is starting to grow, as is, more importantly, the experience.
And this is the Obey that we're used to seeing. Good team fighting and just overall solid understanding of the map. They don't want to force it early on, and this is what I think a lot of the NA teams were observing about all of Europe. Not just Obey, but Obey being the best team in Europe during the spring split certainly embodied this very well, in the sense that they aren't fighting just for the sake of fighting. They're fighting to take something from you. They're fighting to guarantee something that you want to take, and then using that to their advantage and pushing their lead. All of the fights that Obey have taken have been around buffs or camps, or in response to Enix being the aggressors. Really intelligent play out of them thus far.
Kind of shows you on the player damage too. I mean, there's not been a whole lot of action. The player damage numbers are pretty low for 13 minutes in, I'd say. Most of the time you're probably expecting, a little bit more, probably around 7,000-8,000 per player, at least in the solo lane perspective as well, from a Bologna and a tier, but not much damage really going on this game. It's all been focused damage, which is converted to kills.
Exactly. It's not a lot of poke, as you mentioned, but now that Mystical Mail is complete for Maniac, that poke damage is going to be much more significant. 2 blinks for Enix between Ducky and Fails, so Pretty Prime needs to be careful because the Morrigan is very vulnerable in that base state. Now, we saw Pretty Prime, as soon as he gets jumped on, he turns into the Circuit and uses that mobility to get away, but it does take a little bit of time to get into that transformation. Could see Enix try and focus down the mid before
Lobster could be in a bit of trouble there, but a nice dunk from Big Man Tings will slow him down. His Big Man is the focus instead. CC to death and forced to ult in place. Bad news is lurking in the waters is waiting as well. In comes the Circuit though, looking for the turnaround from Fails. Not enough to slow them down though, and instead it's Enix on the retreat as Maniac cleans up one and another with the Eagles rally. Will it be Trip Skis? No! Pretty Prime takes it away.
It was a great Fearless out of Ducky, but then Emilzy interrupted it with the charge prey. 3 for 0. Obey finds the mid 3v3 core. Only those side laners still alive for Enix.
And that was Lobster just being a little bit too far forward, in my opinion. He got caught a little bit far forward, and then it was Big Man Tiggs who had to come to the rescue and put himself in an awkward spot as well.
And it's just, but it's for me, I don't know. Lobster, yes, not the world's best positioning there,
Sure.
but it's just Captain Twig understanding how much damage he could take at any given time. And look at the item that he's got after the Shifter Shield. Another shield. The Gladiators one this time
Now we've
around.
definitely seen all of it. I knew we'd seen all of it. I knew I was forgetting one. I couldn't remember which.
And it's the
That's why I
Gladiators.
refused
So
to say it.
there's a cheap tier 2 item, gives you a little bit of power, a little bit of physical protection, some cooldown as well, but it also synergizes beautifully with Naja because you're healing for a % of your max HP with every time you damage an enemy god, you know, with a short internal cooldown. So, but that ring toss is so good at just poking people from a distance, and Naja is one of those characters that can be a little bit susceptible to poke at times.
Sure.
So even though between that Gladiator shield heal and that Flaming Spear heal, it's going to be very easy for Twig to take a lot of damage and then heal it up.
I'm not surprised to see some Naja coming back, especially with the ring toss changes, just because in team fights, if it's just a team on team with no minions around, that is a lot of bounties is going to be dealing free damage consistently to the whole squad.
It's dirty in those sorts of jungle team fights where there aren't minions around, because not only are you doing significant damage to everyone else, you're speeding yourself up and you're slowing down the entire enemy team. And plus, if you get something like a Brawler's Beatstick, you're applying anti-heal to the entire enemy team. You're forcing them to spread out, which allows you to pick a target and then execute on them very, very quickly. Naja, when played well, is one of the hardest things to deal with. But like I mentioned, as soon as you fall behind on Naja, it becomes very difficult to be an effective initiator. Now, even when behind, Naja's ultimate is great because it doesn't matter if you're doing damage if you're just taking a big care.
Here we go. Looking for the Gold Fury with Obey. The Gold Fury goes the way of Enix, stolen, but can they get out in time? Twig's taking one to the skies. Fails was looking for an exit route. He won't find one now. It's only back to the fountain.
And now Prime transforms into the Circuit, chasing down Big Man Tings. Can't get away from that mobility. He's going to pop himself, but it's not going to matter. Ataraxia finds both. Even though Enix get the Gold Fury, Obey with 2 kills.
Is it too early for a Fire Giant call here from them? It looks like they're going that way. The Portal Demon's not up just yet, but it is coming up shortly.
I don't know. With 5 members all this healthy, I don't mind a bait around the Fire Giant, but I don't know if they can actually do it. Enix is experienced enough to know that this is going to take Obey a while. There aren't a lot of big power spike items online quite yet for Obey.
Only Ducky is the first one coming towards his Fire Giant, and he's going down hella quick. Here comes Lobster and Fumble around the corner. Lobster has his ultimate available, but can he get in range to drop the Supernova? No is the answer. The Disapparate and the ring toss did so much work. Eagles rally. Piggy, Piggy, Piggy. Aegis is down too, and Twiggy gets the kill.
Only their Maniac in that front side. He's going to get eaten by that Fearless, but Emilzy disrupts the Fearless once more, saving Maniac's life. But Enix get Obey off of the Fire Giant.
And you caught it. It was a bait for the Fire Giant. If somebody comes, go for the kill. Find the kill. Get the Portal Demon as a consolation result because of the fact it's now available for us to fall back to, and then continue the pressure next time round.
Twig has to use his Purification Beads after the abduct from Big Man Tings. Don't know if Twig got a chance to steal that speed buff or not. No, it looks like it did go the way of Enix.
You can see that now. It comes up with a ghosty glow.
Yeah, but there was a ward there that was being hovered over, and there was a lot of glowing going on. I just didn't feel comfortable making the call.
There is professional map callers around the world that watch us every day and tweet at us to make sure we know we're wrong.
Oh, I know.
I'm just going to do that work for them, so you get one less tweet. Okay?
I look forward to my tweets. I don't get a lot of mentions.
Someone tweet at Aggro with something positive. I know it's a difficult task to ask, but if you can find one positive thing to tell him today, it will cheer him up.
Someone told me something positive the other day, that my mustache was B tier. That's much higher than I ever thought I'd get.
Oh, you know what I said today?
Wait
till we get back on stream because everyone's going to call it out too. It looks like you've drawn it on.
I have.
It looks like you legit have drawn on your mustache.
You didn't have to tell everyone.
I'm sorry.
I told you that in confidence, Hindu.
Couldn't help it.
I literally borrowed your Sharpie to do it.
I don't have a Sharpie.
Whose Sharpie was that?
I don't know. I never heard of one. Tier 2 in the mid lane though, being focused by Obey now. Still don't have the Fire Giant to the name, and in comes Ducky with the Lawbringer, looking for the Fearless combo. Won't find anything though over the Maniac, and already the Supernova's down from Lobster. Fails, has to disengage, but Maniac says, no, it's not over yet, my friend. We're coming in. We're taking the Tier 2. Will we go for the Phoenix though?
I don't think they can here, Hindu. Just a little bit too much poke damage onto the frontliners. Emilzy and Maniac just slightly too low to continue this siege, at least in the mid lane. Now he could see Obey transition this pressure into the right-hand side with how pushed up that wave is, but with Fail still being fairly healthy, Lobster still full HP, Funball and Big Man Tink still have their ultimates as well, while only Pretty Prime has his on the side of Obey. I like this call by Obey to disengage and farm up their map because they've got a little bit up to farm. That blue buff just dropped by Captain Twig, both sets of back harpies. Those oracles are available for the taking on the left-hand side as well.
Both these teams have done so well of controlling the game once they've got a lead. I must say that, like game 1 Enix, it was all Enix.
Yes.
There was no real ways back in for Obey. Game 2, even though it's only a 5k lead, you can start to see that stretch being shown in terms of the kills, which have resulted in more objectives.
I think that when everyone was very concerned about the snowball in the game, there were just the slight changes to the Gold Fury and Portal Demon, in my mind, were enough to combat that, because I don't think it was necessarily the map overall. It was how good teams have gotten at holding leads, and these teams just continue to improve at not making mistakes, because like I mentioned earlier, they aren't fighting for no reason anymore. They're fighting over objectives. Their intelligence level has just gone considerably higher, and it's not even every split, but it seems like every week, even the mid-level teams get that much better at holding leads.
Surprisingly enough, though, I'm talking about objectives, but if you look at it, Enix stole 2 Gold Furies away time and again.
Yeah.
Enix on the right side, though, looking once again to try and get Big Man Tings out of trouble, but he's been flip-flopped and thrown around like a ragdoll. The Scarab is dead, as is his ultimate, as is the speed buff.
3-0-7 now for Pretty Prime in that mid lane. 4-0-7 for Captain Twig, who's had a very solid showing on this Naja. Twig looks pretty good on that Camazotz in game 1 as well. The entire team didn't have the same success, but the early game, Twig was really running things for Obey.
Yeah, I think actually the biggest telling point of this game so far, I guess, is Kernanos versus Kernanos.
Yeah.
It's the one constant.
And Ataraxia, it just really looks very comfortable on this god for me. In other, this is not a knock against Funball at all, but as you mentioned, in game 1, he was doing great work, but it was the one ultimate on top left was the one thing that stood out to me to save Big Man Tings with that polymorph. But I feel like every time Ataraxia picks Kernanos, he's finding a new way to use that ultimate to save his team or to stop an engagement or something along those lines. He just looks so comfortable on this god. I always love to see him play it.
I will say the Wild Hunt for me from a Hunter position is probably one of the strongest decisions, strongest Hunter ultimates available, alongside the likes of Ho Yi, for example. I think that's very strong. But I love what we saw out of Enix there. Obey, they knew they were going to do Fire Giant. They didn't want to try and contest it, so what they do is they take the Gold Fury, which keeps the gold gap even though there's a couple of tiers, or at least one tier 2 tower left remaining here. They want to try and stand at the Phoenixes. The defense isn't too bad with Arama and Sol for at least push power, but Circuit's always going to be awkward in sieges.
Twig first one in. He's going to find someone with that Windfire Wheels. That saved his life. Now Prime is waiting for him with the Soul Out on the bottom, and he's going to blow up Lobster.
And now Funballer pushed out to the left by Maniac. No support for Funballer there as the carries, so the tanks in the front line are going down, or should I say Fails is going down. There's a sash from Twig as well. With that middle Phoenix down, it's all over to the right-hand side.
And look at how healthy everyone on Obey is. Pretty Prime literally didn't take a tick of damage in that last team fight. Twig the only real one, but he made that was such a big play out of him. He was dead if he doesn't hit that ultimate, 100%, and that's Naja in a nutshell, right? You get yourself in a bad position, and it's, did I hit the ultimate? Sick, we won the team fight. Did I miss the ultimate? Sick, it's a 4v5 for my team.
Well, I know a lot of people were talking about Naja before the change to the ring bounce, saying the problem with Naja is the damage output is good, but it's not worth the risk. You know, you get yourself in so many awkward positions so often. It doesn't feel rewarding enough to play a character like this. Now is the extra ring bounce, is it, is the question?
I think that it's player dependent. I do think, I agree with the overall majority saying that Naja is simply too risky at a competitive level, and I tend to agree with that. But if I've got someone who can say, can look at me and say, look, I'm gonna hit 80 to 85% of my ultimates, I'm gonna lose us some team fights because I'm gonna miss my ult. But I mean, we saw what Cope was able to do whenever he was playing with Noble on that relegations roster to help Noble requalify for the SPL. Cope was like 4-9, but he was hitting every blink ult and setting up Noble to win every single team fight with that blink ult. It doesn't matter if you're not doing well outside of that. That's Naja's job in the late game, is just to take a priority target out of the team fight. And if you can guarantee that, there are very few junglers that can be that impactful in the late game.
Well, Obey only have one more lane to siege down here. Tier 1 and Tier 2 still standing in the duo lane. Won't take long, though, with a Fire Giant and Ataraxia running at it, and it doesn't even help more the fact the rest of Obey are joining in too. And
there's plenty of damage even without Ataraxia there. Pretty Prime's got that Obsidian Shard done, the Spear of Desolation, a fully stacked Book of Thoth. No Rod of Tahuti quite yet. I don't know if he's even going to get a chance to start it up. He's gone for the Power Potion here, picking up that purple pot, expecting to end the game right here.
So how would you defend this as Enix? What do? Do you send Fails in real quick?
You hope that Captain Twig misses his ult and then win the team fight from there.
Well,
you wait for Twig to engage.
Ducky walking forward, trying to keep him in combat so he can't blink over the back. Meanwhile, the Phoenix is already going down. Twig blinks in at the same time as the rest of his team focus Ducky. Ducky's still standing for now, but the crits from Ataraxia are hurting. Twig is dead, but so is Ducky. And there's a revive coming out onto Millsy, which came out from Prime of all people. Prime transforming into the Scarab, looking to try and keep Captain Twig alive just a little bit too late.
It almost worked. That was the entire game plan, and that's another reason why we see the Morrigan here, is that Twig on this Naja may just suicide sometimes like that. And if you have a Khepri on your team, you could save him. Good idea, just a little bit off on the execution.
Fire minions from the right, fire minions from the middle, and the whole of Obey outside of Twig are standing by, trying to bring down the Titan, as well as Lobster. Cancelled out, it'll be Fails, who's forced to revive by Maniac, but the flip will keep Tings in an awkward spot instead. They're hunting kills, Obey, they want that KDA.
17 now in total for them, and they're marching down into this Titan room. Even without Twig, they're in a good position here because of how many fire minions there are. Lobster can clear a decent amount, but it's going to be difficult to keep their Titans safe.
Interesting that they choose to reset there. A little bit worried with the lack of ultimates available for them, I guess, to try and finish it off, as well as the Fire Giant deep buff wearing off them as well. It's causing them a lot of problems.
That's true, and with Twig just now respawning and coming back from base, he's got to walk all the way there, whereas Ducky respawns and is ready to fight if you're in his own Titan room. So I respect the call from Obey. Even though they're up, an exorbitant amount of gold, Enix has a composition that if you give them an inch, they can really knock down a ton of towers. Now, this is the exact same position Obey was in last game, right? Where they're in their own Titan room. You haven't even touched really a tower on the opposite side, but this composition from Enix is much better at sieging down those towers than that of Obey in the last game.
So if we say Obey should win this game, what is the biggest result for you today? When you look at all the games that we saw today, we saw Energy versus Rival, Obey versus Enix, Pappies versus Elevate, all splits. All splits.
The fact that Enix gets a point here, because Obey, coming in, the Spring Split champions,
#1, right?
yeah, they were still seen as #1. I think everyone was expecting Enix to put up a fight here, but not really find a point. They certainly did. They dominated Obey in game 1 and in totality. So I really think that Enix, this is them saying, if you were worried about, who was going to go to Valencia between Energy, Obey, Dignitas, and Rival, don't forget about us, because we're right in that conversation.
Europe is really tight right now when you think about it. I'm pretty sure when they do the analysis at the post-game desk for the day, you'll see how close these brackets really are. With most teams sticking up splits, it could still be anyone's game. Twig blinked early there, got the ultimate out of Fumbler, who was ready, and actually cleaned up Ducky. Because of that, Ataraxia gets that, and Twig is now going in again.
Lobster has that Scarab's Blessing on top of him. It is going to get popped. He's going to get back into his base fairly safely here, but it created enough space. Obey starting to shred down that Titan, and they're going to take game 2 up against Enix.
1-1 for the day. Obey and Enix split right down the middle, and for some that'll be surprising. For others, could have been expected.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Enix, this roster has so much potential. It's right there. You see what Fail's able to do in this kind of team environment. And their compositions is another thing that, when I think of teams that are willing to experiment and bring new comps to the pro league, you think of Obey, you think of Eager, you think of teams like that. But Enix has done it consistently as well. Remember, they were the ones at the very beginning of Season 4. They're running that triple Guardian, double Hunter sort of composition, and they're always willing to try and find something new. I mean, look, Ymir Freeze into Nemald into Kraken isn't anything new per se, but their team compositions always seem to work well together.
And that's the thing about Season 4 as well, is every season it takes a good majority of that whole year for teams to really work out what the real meta is.
Sure.
Spring meta is over. Summer meta's here. Will we get a fall one? We'll find out later, but for now, let's go to the post-game desk to break down the entire day.
Thanks so much, Hindu. And what a day it has been on the side of Europe SPL.
Absolutely. Despite that 2-0 Dignitas did to Burrito Esports, every other set was the split 1-1.
I would say it's pretty surprising to most people, too. I don't think that a lot of people were really well, I guess maybe for Elevate and the Poppies, you can say that's a little bit more anticipated. Elevate are notorious for splitting with teams, but Poppies well played to them for stepping it up and coming back after that 19-minute defeat.
Yeah.
Just immediately turning the tables and giving us a 43-minute run of the show.
It's no easy task as a player to be able to be put through the ringer like that. You're being beaten so badly, you're forced to go into surrender pre-20-minute mark. You're down 16-0, but for Poppies to be able to bounce back in that second game was so crucial. And that second game from Elevate versus Poppies, I'm looking at Ojo Boom on the Soul there. His damage in the late game was just out of this world.
Ojo Boom certainly had a whole lot going for him on the Soul, and the burst potential overall is just always a nice addition to a team environment. And I think that overall this team certainly has a lot of development that they can go towards and take with them through the summer split. Maybe not necessarily into Valencia, but either way, this is a very important part for them to start building on their team.
They definitely need to figure out their identity, because Dalo on this jungler was doing so much work, but Nika as well on the Thor in that first game was the reasoning why they got off to that crazy 16-0 win. It was just so easy for him to make the plays with his global presence god.
Snowball potential is always an aspect, especially when somebody like Nika starts popping off in game number 1. But like I said, we had a very interesting day of EU SPL, and now we're going to take a look at the standings to see where all these teams line up after this first weekend in the summer split. And already Team Dignitas pulling ahead of the pack with their 6 points due to their 2-set victories. Enix trailing not too far behind though with 4, and then everybody else 1 or 0.
Well, pretty much that's going to be the case with Enix and Dignitas playing 2 sets currently. Everyone else will have their chance to catch up to those games, whereas Poppies and Elevate, they also have played that second game set, but they were the unfortunate victims of Team Dignitas' wrath.
And these teams are certainly looking to try and find a bigger impact coming in the coming weeks for the summer split. They don't have a whole lot of time. This is only a 5 weeks and running, 4 weeks now. So it's pretty much do or die.
Every week counts. Doesn't matter if you're Europe or North America.
And I'm sure for both regions involved, especially for EU, like we saw the games already that happened today, and I really have to hand it to Enix. It's certainly a roster with a ton of potential, but the fact is they found, I would say, what is a bit of an upset split against Obey.
Absolutely. Obey looked like the best team in the world, not just out of their region. They won the last Masters LAN, and they did it very cleanly. I think the telltale sign of this game was who got Kurnos, because whoever had it, whether it was Funballer or Ataraxia, did so much work that game.
It really just came down to, I think, the drafting synergy just surrounding the team for Enix. That Nemesis, Kraken, and Emir Freeze combination was completely devastating to Obey, and their draft just seemed a little bit too late game oriented to try and revamp after Enix got off to such a great start.
And Lobster playing his staple Poseidon pick. He loves this god so much, finding so many easy, clean picks against whether Pretty Prime, whether it was Ataraxia. The pairing up these ultimates with the Nemesis, just finding even more damage with the protection shred from that ultimate.
It was just really unfortunate because Ataraxia on the other end with the Jingwei just seemed like he couldn't really make anything happen. Wasn't the case in game number 2, like you mentioned. He was the one who managed to pick up the Kurninos second time around, and so Obey were able to bounce back, but Enix being such a new team, having Ducky and Fails coming into their roster changes, I still think that they look like a team that's been playing together for much longer than just this beginning of the summer split.
Well, they still have so much history between them, right? You have Lobster in the mid lane, you're having Funballer there in the duo lane, and these two players specifically provide so much experience to make it very easy for Ducky and Fails to fit in right into plays. I think these two players specifically for Enix is the best thing that could have happened to Lobster and Funballer, just to get some new blood and get some new motivation within them.
I think that most people would agree that they were probably two of the stronger possible pickups in the EU region that Enix could have acquired. Elevate not too happy, probably losing Fails on one hand, but Nika, we saw he's been doing a lot better, I think, this time around. He seems much more confident in the jungle role compared to Thursday's set. And sure, it was a split, but it's still a lot to look forward to. But of course, that was just the EU action that we had going here today, guys. And following up tomorrow, we'll actually be getting into North America side of things to see how these teams are going to play out. And again, a lot of spicy matchups coming your way.
Absolutely. First match is going to be Luminosity versus Noble. E-United against Memory of Gabe. Some interesting switch-ups there happening. Allegiance versus Flashpoint is going to be your third game of the day. And to wrap things up for tomorrow, Eager against Monkey Madness.
And that's really a matchup that I'm looking to keep an eye on, is to see how Eager's latest jungle acquirement plays out when it comes to the competitive side of things. But that isn't the only SMITE action that you can make sure to stay involved in. If you go ahead and party up back at home, guys, we have a promo going on with the 3x Worshippers, Favor, and FP. So you want to make sure that you're partied up with a friend and get 3x everything.
It's a party in the SPL. It's a party into SMITE. It's a party here at Hi-Res Studios.
And like we said, guys, a lot of fun things coming your way. We've already seen some great matches from EU side of things. Tomorrow, make sure you tune in for all the action for North America to see where all those teams are going to be standing after the first week of the SPL. And from everybody here at Hi-Res, have a good night.